welcome to everyone at Samwaad, from lectures to legacies, where we proudly present to you the treasure trove of Hansraj's distinguished alumni. Brought to you by the alumni team of the Commerce Society, our aim is to honor and uphold the remarkable legacy of this esteemed institution. Today, we are thrilled to have with us CA Yash Aggarwal from the batch of 2020. Yash not only graduated with an impressive CGPA, but also cracked all his CA examinations on the first attempt. Now, let us begin Samwaad with Mr. Yash Aggarwal as he shares the path he took to reach these aspirational heights. But before we dive in, let us hear a small introduction from Yash.
So hi Arush, pleasure meeting you.
Same here, Yash.
Yeah. So it was a great meeting you and all about, I think you have covered most of the aspects which were about my professional qualifications. But what I stand out to a certain extent is what I aim for. Particularly, I have a few things in my bucket on professional front. The first is CA, as you mentioned. Then uh, in addition to that, I graduated from Hansraj College, as you mentioned, in the year 2020 with decent amount of qualifications uh, accompanying the same. Particularly, I have been a part of quite good organizations, particularly one of the biggest bank of America, that is Goldman Sachs, from which I have done my internship in the year 2022. In addition to that, after qualification, I moved to HSBC as a manager, and currently I'm pursuing the same. So yeah.
Yash, as you mentioned that you have interned at Goldman Sachs, and so how was your experience interning at one of the biggest banks in the world?
Yeah, it was extremely pleasure working with the top minds of the finance fields. I think they are quite brilliant in terms of grooming and in terms of emphasizing what is important, what is not. I think what is missing in most of the organizations, that they are unnecessarily putting the things and the resources in the domain which is not that fruitful. But the wonder about that organization is that it knows how to get the best and how to unleash the potential of the persons which all are associated with it. Particularly, it's not an organization which is having too many of the employees, but with least amount of employees, particularly among all the finance organizations, it is particularly having the most stellar performances. So that is particularly outstanding about that, and I have groomed a lot. That I learned a lot many things there itself, more on the corporate front, because that was my first organization to start my corporate journey. Then after my CA qualification, I moved to HSBC through CA campus placements, and I started my journey last year only in 2024. So yeah, it's been a great journey to being part of two of the big organizations in the finance field, and I hope to continue the journey with HSBC in the same way as I did in Goldman Sachs.
Okay, very well said, Yash. As most of our viewers are college-going students and they want to intern at tier one companies also. So, what advice would you have? How can they also secure an internship at a tier one company?
Yeah, I think the first is they have to spread themselves. It's not that they have to confine and just demand the things that they want to place themselves in hefty organizations which are providing some extraordinary skills to the people. They have to first acknowledge that what is necessity, what extra skills they do need to possess before approaching to any organizations. If I'm a CA, I can't just go with a CA degree in forthcoming organizations. I have to perform. I have to encash whatever I can at the behest of this. I would not be barring myself in saying that you have to be consistent. You can't just bluntly say that we are just working towards our game. You have to ensure that what all other people are doing, you're also having some of your hands into those buckets. At least not everything, but you should know the bits and pieces of it, so that you can inculcate in all the relevant times and expel the same before all the organizations to whom you are going to represent in the future times. So that is one piece of advice which I strongly recommend, that be consistent, be skillful as much as the people can be, and try to then approach the organizations in whatever way you can be. It's not wrong if even if you are going through referrals. I particularly feel because now you won't be just judged based upon the referrals through which you have been entered into organizations. Your performance should and has to speak in a way that is outstanding to your managers, to your line managers, to all other senior folks to whom you are representing, and that should stand out in itself rather than just carrying a baggage of being entering into the organization through referral. So you have to be consistent and as seamless as it can be, and skillful all the times.
Okay. As you mentioned, top companies are looking for skilled people. So, what are the skills that you would highly recommend college students to learn?
Okay, so first is the speaking skills. They have to be more cognizant that they have to present themselves. They can't be in a shell or in a dorm and unnecessarily be cribbing that they didn't able to secure a good place in the big organizations. What stand out for organization is how skillful you are. It doesn't matter if you're CA or MBA or whatnot, or a CFA particularly. You have to be extremely cognizant that organizations want those guys who can be easily groomed, and if you are decently skilled, then it would be quite good for them to groom you, right? So if you know Excel very well, if you are participating in presentations actively, not just the sake of presenting yourself just to secure some good marks, but if you're deliberately and diligently, if you are trying to bridge something which is not catered by the other guys or other colleagues of yours, then probably I think you are doing pretty well in approaching towards that aim of getting into big organizations. So that is one piece that you have to make your speaking skills as robust as it can be. Then you have to present yourself all the times. You have to look presentable. You have to be in professional attire as much as you can be whenever you are going to interview, be it through online mode or through offline mode. You have to be extremely presentable all the times, as I said before. Next thing comes that how good you are in expressing the things which you have learned over the course of the time, right? You have to be first realize that whatever you have learned, are you uh, sufficient enough to express the same in more decent and elaborative manner to the person to whom you are going to represent yourself, right? If you are just mugging up the things and saying the things from the bookish language, you won't be able to secure a good place. What stands out is how comfortable you are around the things which you have learned, and how good you can be in tweaking the same according to the needs of the organization. I think that stands out in itself, and that should be able to justify yourself before any particular organization.
Okay, and that is also why I believe that Hansraj is different from other colleges, as you mentioned that you should dress for form in a formal attire for interviews. Like we have also our society interviews, be it online or offline means. We are required to dress in formal attire, and we are also required to give presentations and make Excel sheets. So I believe that Hansraj is really making a step towards whatever the things you mentioned, they are trying to groom ourselves as much as possible.
Yeah, completely agree.
How would you describe your time at Hansraj? How did your college education shape your career path?
Yeah, so Hansraj was indeed a very pleasure time to spend during my college times, and particularly since I was quite occupied in another curriculum stuff, I couldn't able to invest too much of time. But the lucky or the fortunate part, which I believe was there, was towards the end of my graduation, where I was able to give sufficient time to the college, and it was wonderful to be at Hansraj because it grooms you really well. The teachers and whatnot, all the senior folks are, they are so humble and they are so acceptable that they are always up to you whenever you are comfortable, whenever you have to ask doubts. They are always up to you, and they try to bridge the gap of teacher and a friend. They always try to make the things more and more lively instead of just fudging around the facts. They try to just be more familiar with the concepts, and they try you also you us as well to step into their shoes at some point in the future times, to be as groomed as they are. So it's always great, and that is why I was able to have stellar performances in my career path because of the Hansraj. It impacted and imparted me lot many great learnings which I couldn't be able to earn or learn anywhere else. So it's just a pleasure studying at Hansraj.
That's great to hear. After so many years, which is that one college memory that still stands out to you?
Most probably arriving early to the college, and that is one piece I still miss a lot because nowadays I'm becoming quite complacent about rising early. But at that point, I used to be quite active in going to the college to attend all the early morning classes. Like if I have to attend the class at 8:30, probably have to start from Noida, from where I'm put up from. At 6 a.m. That is quite early, and that to in winter. So it's a wonderful to be at college at 8:30 and starting from here at 6. So it's always be there in the back of my mind.
I'm sure the the day scholars would relate.
Yes.
So, since you also cleared CA and you completed all your papers in the first attempt, which is remarkable, How did you manage your college studies with CA?
So, to be very frank, the CA curriculum coincides with the BCom honors precisely, the curriculum which BCom honors is having. So that wasn't that much of big hectic thing for me, to be very frank. But yes, it was indeed difficult at some points because you have to do and perform lot many presentations. You have to provide many assessments at various points of graduation. So that was indeed quite difficult at some points, but not always. But as I iterated, it is always welcoming to have new things in your bucket rather than doing some monotonous things. So if that is provided by the college itself without asking for it at the later point of my career, then what else would I aspire for? So that was indeed great to have. And it was wonderful to be at the college and to indulge myself in uh, what all things which could be possibly there along with my curriculum. So I was quite overwhelmed to have those during my college days.
So throughout the journey, you must have experienced a number of setbacks. Can you tell us one and how did you tackle it?
So one of the biggest setback was me for me was when I was just approaching towards my C exams, C intermediate exams, because it was quite difficult because first of the group was coinciding with my college exams, so that was quite a big setback for me at first glance of it. But fortunately, I was able to walk across. And was able to manage both the things simultaneously, though it indeed hampered my C exams to a great extent. And till the results were out, I was quite hesitant and quite jeopardized whenever I was thinking about my CA exams, because I wasn't that much prepared for it, because I have to cater to CA as well as to college exams. But that was one of the setback which I earlier thought could be there, but fortunately I was able to walk across it, and it didn't hamper a lot in my college studies as well as my CA journey.
What is the one advice you would give to CA aspirants who are struggling with the same thing? So, like, what stress reliever should they go for?
See, there could be ample of things which could relieve the stress, but for me, I can fortunately be. I always believe that if you are close to the people who can motivate you, it always relaxes you to a great extent. You don't have to search for unnecessary things. I don't have to spend too much of time on YouTube on watching unnecessary things. Instead, you should ideally be there in front of the person with whom you believe you would be more relaxed. And I particularly feel there is no other person other than your family member who can relieve you to a great extent, and not even a close friend, because again that dichotomy is there, that a friend would also be having certain ends to suit, that I don't want to bring in. But families was one of the biggest motivation or a booster, particularly when I say during that time. It was quite cumbersome for me to cater both the things, but whenever I used to spend at least 30 minutes bare minimum, I used to ensure that whenever I'm quite puzzled or perplexed about the things, I have to give certain period of my preparatory time to my family. I have to be more into dialogue, where I will be sharing something and try to invoke some good lessons from them, because although they haven't been into this journey but actively, but they somehow know how good we are and how good we can unleash our potential. So since they are more closer to us and most closest to us, they potentially know what is the important piece which we are probably missing, and what else we can try to bring it into our preparation, which can further enhance our journey. So be more close to the members who can motivate you, and don't spend in times in new things which unnecessarily spoil your entire preparation time. And instead of putting unnecessary things, just be more focused, keep limited things, but be more active of all, so that you can never trip in the coming times that you didn't got enough chance to spend too much of time in the things which are valuable or which could be valuable during a professional journey.
So now let's jump into a rapid fire round. This segment will be snappy, quick, and a lot of fun. One word that describes your experience at Hansraj.
Fabulous.
Your favorite hangout spot in college.
LP.
Your favorite finance term.
CA.
An achievement you're most proud of.
CA.
Best thing about being a CA.
You don't have to answer some silly questions.
Your go-to stress reliever.
My family, as I said.
If you could switch lives with someone for a day, who would it be and why?
Probably my father, because he works a lot. Now at the age of 56, he is working quite hard. Though he is not having anything to miss out, and me and my younger sister are having good academics as of now, and we are also on good career path. Still, he works quite hard. And at the age of 56, I can't admire any other else other than my father, who at this age, who is tirelessly working, despite of the fact that he has gone through some tough times in his younger days, but still he's as active as he was when he was in early 20s or 30s. So that is one piece which I always believe, that if I'm able to at least impart 50% of the tireless efforts which he puts up now as well, I'll be able to justify myself to a greater extent.
Thank you.
Okay, so Yash, speaking about your current job, how does your day looks like at HSBC?
So it's probably start at 11 and ends at 8. That's how it is. But fortunately, my line manager and all the folks are quite helpful, because I'm new to this organization, to be very frank. But since I have decent amount of corporate experience in my previous organization, I am able to express myself at all the relevant point. It doesn't matter that whether my point is relevant to the senior folks or not, but they will address it to a great extent. They will not try to shy away in accepting the same, because I usually believe that if the manager is accepting or even addressing to the things which are putting up across, then it makes sense to be in that job for a longer period. So if your manager is able to attend you at all the relevant points, not always, I would still say, but if he's that much active and that much interested at all the times in entertaining you with silly as well as all the relevant questions, that I feel it will always be good enough to be associated with that organization. And currently I'm quite fortunate to be with and at HSBC, and I probably will try to elongate my experience and my journey with HSBC as much as I can.
So can we say that recognition has been a great factor for you?
Yeah, indeed. So recognition is definitely, because if I look into myself and try to, though I'm not into comparison and all, but if I try remotely even, but if I try to compare myself or my performances, I feel that yes, whatever I have been imparted with in my past, be it Goldman or be it other articleship journey, I am quite fortunate that I'm able to justify all those at the current point of time and at HSBC, and I believe that recognition, that position, and the baggage of having stellar performances associated with my CA degree is itself a testimony of having good things and getting good things at all the relevant points.
Okay. So since you work at such a prestigious organization, you must leverage tech in your day-to-day working. So now with the advent of automation and AI, how do you see the role of a CA evolving in terms of data analytics and real-time financial reporting?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and it's a burning question as well, to be very frank, because nowadays a curriculum, to be very frank, is shaping in a way that it inculcates lot many things which are associated with the recent practicalities which are happening around the globe, be it AI, be it ESG, environment, social, and governance. So it's trying to bridge that gap as much as it can be. At least the new faces who are coming up, who are be it clearing CA or whatnot, other courses, they at least are familiar with the terms, and they are not quite amazed to see that things are changing. Like earlier, people used to correct that we are not aware about this term, we are not active about this term. But now, because of the advent, as you mentioned, of technology and all the new stuff like AI, as you mentioned, people are becoming quite active in attending and in indulging themselves into these new pieces which are revolving around the globe. and they are keen to enhance their knowledge, their data set, in accordance with the new technologies which are evolving constantly, so that they are not having a sense of disconnect with these new terms or new things which are coming up. And they are also quite keen in experiencing the things. Like, people are now quite active in experiencing how the AI is all evolving. At the time when blockchain was evolving, people were quite active in knowing how does blockchain works. So it's quite interesting that people are at least keen to have their mindset in a way which shapes them in a future ready manner. So that is one piece I would strongly believe, that we should always be aware of the things which are happening around the globe. And the best thing to know about the all uh, new things which are coming up is the newspaper, because newspaper is something which always keeps you connected, which always keep you in sync with the things which are happening. And that is only one thing which is seamless, which is updating day by day, and which is, as robust and as uh, trustworthy as it can be, right? So there is, I particularly feel, and because I have a bit of old school mindset, that newspaper holds the highest importance when you say that you have to learn about the new things. It doesn't matter whether you understand or not. At least try to spend an hour of your day into a newspaper. Just pick one particular article and just read end to end, and try to understand what that article is trying to say. At first glance, you won't be able to understand it. Second, you won't be, but still you would be able to get a hang of it after giving a read thrice. So I particularly feel that if you are active on it, and if you are rigorously following newspapers, you'll be quite active. After a certain point of time, you'll be able to justify lot many things which are happening around the globe, and you'll be able to substantiate what not things which are coming up, because all the things which are evolving has certain past. If AI is coming up, there must have been certain past. If blockchain is there in the world, there must have been certain past. But no one is aware about the past. Everyone is enjoying the benefits. They are reaping the benefits of AI blockchain. They are just encashing the benefits out of it. But they are not realizing the importance that it has certain history which no one is aware of. But ideally, if you want to make yourself comfortable and as close as you can be to all the evolving technologies, you have to go backwards, then start reading about the things, that how it evolved and why it evolved. That's the foremost question which you should ask. And what was the problem statement which that technology is trying to address, and what are the problem statement within that technology which you can potentially address in the coming times. So that is one piece which I strongly believe should be there.
A great point of view, Yash. Even I prefer to read books rather than to just read news on the mobile or laptops. So, as you mentioned, AI. So, how do you leverage AI in your work life?
So to be very frank, I always believe that whenever you are presenting to someone, it always good to vet whatever you are going to present. If I am there for something before all the senior management, I should ensure that whatever facts which I'm going to put up across all the senior management, I should ensure that I am able to vet those numbers, those facts through an independent source. And I think if we'd have OpenAI, Open GPT, which is in obvious terms called as Chat GPT, I can vet those things, whether they are holding sense or not, and whether they are good to present the same before all the senior management. Because if I'm presenting something wrong or something outdated, of course I'll be getting lot many questions which I potentially may not be answer very well. So it's better to have an independent eye who is as robust, as seamless as it can be, and who will help you to ensure that whatever piece you are going to present is is seamless, is have a certain extent of proofreading being done preemptively, so that you don't encounter unnecessary things which you haven't expected to encounter. So that is one piece I always believe, that whenever I'm presenting something to my senior management, I always ensure, provided that thing is not confidential. If thing is confidential, I am obliged not to share the same on any particular public platform. But if the thing is as open and as public as it can be. I always believe that's good to have an independent eye, but we should always be subjective and always be curious, as well as always be mindful that OpenAI is also not as error free as it can be. It's also evolving along with us. So we always have to keep an independent eye. If you're picking something out of it, we always have to ensure that it is coming out from an independent source, which is reliable, which has certain degree of integrity. So that's how I leverage OpenAI in my day-to-day life. Not to a greater extent, but to a certain extent, I always try to utilize the same, because that technology is going to change or going to shape the globe in next lot many decades.
Okay, very well said, Yash. Now to add an element of fun, can we see you like starting your own firm in the near future?
Potentially, yes, but it's too early because I'm still evolving myself as much as I can. Because if you are aspirant to have a leadership role, you should be well aware about the facts which are happening. You should have that mindset which is open to accept all the things, and which is as open to counter the things, right? If you are saying something, I should have a appropriate counter to counterbalance the thing, as well as to ensure that whatever things which you're putting across is holding integrity and it is holding reliability to a great extent. So that I firmly believe that if I'm starting a firm in near future, I have to inculcate a lot many things which potentially I feel I am still imparting within myself from all the senior management to whom I represent. But still, it's a long way, and I believe sometime in near future, I potentially may think to start my own firm and groom all the new guys who are coming up, because I believe the new mindsets are always fresh. They always bridge the gap, and they always bring something new which no one has ever expected. So I always believe that's always good to have someone who is who's not experienced as you are, but who is having the great mindset to believe in you and to show up to you what all things which are evolving and what all things which can be evolved in the existing things.
Okay, we believe in you. Yes, you can do it. So one last question before we wrap up. What advice do you have for the 19-year-old Yash who is just starting out on his college life?
Yeah, that's a good question. Potentially, at that point, I would recommend to plan the things, because still I care about it that if I could have planned, I could have improvised myself to a great extent. Though I have good performances with me, fortunately, because of my consistency, which I always believe we should all keep up throughout our journeys. But one piece which I always ensure, and I believe if someone like me would have been there at that point, that plan out the things. It's very important whenever you are going to appear in any competitive exam. You should have a very robust plan, and a plan should be in a two-way. Like, what if you pass and what if you fail? So I think the fail version, you should always keep looking. You shouldn't keep that in silo, that okay, we are not going to fail because we have stellar performances in our baggage. That doesn't matter. Your performances doesn't matter when you're looking at the future. I strongly believe you always have to keep up to date yourself. You always have to look backwards in order to pick all the wrong things which you did, so that you don't repeat and you don't repent that you didn't get enough time to make the corrections to those wrong pieces which happened in the past. So particularly the planning is one piece of advice which I would suggest I could have given to myself at that point of time.
Great point of view, Yash. So, what an amazing session it was. Honestly speaking, Yash, before the session, you had our curiosity, but now you have our admiration. Your journey has not only inspired us, but has also created a long-lasting impact that has provided us with a great sense of clarity about the field. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, pleasure.